Welcome to Film Crusade. Second time doing the intro.
See, it's so funny because it always is when you just catch me off guard. Because I was thinking you were almost going to do it last time, but you didn't. And so I was like, oh, okay. So,
Well, yeah, no. Anywho, so Ethan, what are we going to be talking about today?
oh, we're going to be talking about the directorial debut of Hollywood's most overrated composer. No.
Dude, I swear to God.
No, of course I don't think that. I love see, now I just don't sound genuine. Um
No, Ethan is giving me such
no,
a hard,
no, I'm a huge Michael Giacchino fan.
yeah.
But
Ethan gave me such a hard time with specifically Michael Giacchino just because I love him so much personally. I am such a huge fan of his music. Like I listen to soundtracks, like the actual orchestral scores to movies, just like on the like just because like people listen to indie music, rock and roll, R&B, rap. Okay, I listen to soundtracks, I listen to scores. Okay,
I mean, I do too, but you just obsess on this
I,
guy. Anyhow,
it's so
his directorial debut, Werewolf by Night, the Disney Plus Halloween special that is also doubled as an MCU property and all sorts of other things.
yes, yes.
Um,
And right off the bat, and not just because I'm a huge fan of his, but also because I'm a huge fan of his, he really needs to direct more stuff because my God, this was so damn good on all fronts.
I would hope that maybe he directs something outside of the MCU next.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I echo that sentiment just a little bit, but not as loudly, just because I'm like, if it's just more MCU specials, then maybe not the most worthy directed career. As people who constantly listen to our episodes could find out, I'm not the biggest MCU fan in the world. I think they've been doing relatively okay this year so far. I haven't watched a lot of the TV series, but that's my life to live. So, but
I,
yeah, I think this is one of the stronger MCU things
yeah.
out this year,
I mean,
alongside Multiverse of Madness. But
mhm. It's really, I mean, it was really something
yeah,
special. Like, just, I mean, well, one, finding out that he was going to do, we're going to have his directorial debut with this movie was one, just, I was like, oh shit, like, that was really surprising. And I was really excited. But also having the style of it be of old 1930s and 40s B movies, like B horror movies, was a nice touch, honestly. And I mean, even reading up about him, and watching, various behind the scenes when they have the music scoring sessions and they're talking about the making of the scores, like he was a big fan. I mean, not big fan, but he really wanted to make movies when he was younger. And like he started making movies with all the Super 8 camera. And he wanted to do directing for some time, but then kind of fell into, film scores. And, and I guess like that just never went away, to steal the words out of Chris Stuckman's mouth. But yeah, like it was great to see a film composer, just especially a very renounced one too, like just
renowned. You mean
renowned. What's renowned?
renowned? Renowned is like well known, appreciated.
It's pronounced.
Renounced,
Oh wait.
renounced is like someone who has been like stripped of all their acclaim, kind of.
Oh my God.
So
It's also when people say granted and granted.
yeah, that's why I'm here, is to
You hear
be
it a
the
certain way. Oh, I promise I graduated school, but I graduated college. I swear to God. It was art
yeah.
college, but it's still a college, right? Does that count anyway? Um, no, but like no, I mean, it was just one, it was great for as a fresh take on the MCU. Like it was nice seeing like a horror, like, and to know it was gonna be like a special. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I kind of really wanted it to be a little bit longer. I kind of like an extra 30 minutes, honestly, just to make it a whole thing.
I feel like it could have been paced better if it. I feel like this is a common complaint this year for me. If it was 10 minutes shorter or 30 minutes longer, kind of like, uh, or the complaint of this could have been a few minutes shorter, or make a mini series out of it, that kind of thing.
I would have liked this one. I'm okay with not being a mini series. I like the fact
Yeah. This one,
no,
I think if it was like a 80-minute thing or if it was just a 40-minute thing would have been, because as it is, it's a little wonky. But I
I, you know
still appreciate it a lot.
I would say okay, like me like excusing my fanboy out for a second, my nerding out. I would say the only thing I think I had a problem with the movie. The only thing I really did was just there was a little bit of pacing like in the middle. There's like a conversation that happens in the middle
Yeah.
of the film that goes on maybe just a little bit too long. But that's like really my only real complaint.
Yeah.
It's just because it
I
kept
think I have the same complaint there alongside other things like, this is an MCU thing, so it's not really made for someone in like me in mind, though it still had like its
really
differences that were good,
because
like
I was digging
gore and
yeah.
old movie homages and things like that, which is fun. But I'm also kind of like, there's a little bit of the MCU humor there.
Really? Did you? I couldn't really see it that.
Mainly in like the introduction.
Oh, to a certain
Um,
character?
well, just like
Oh,
the
yeah.
introduction of
Oh,
all
like
the different hunters, kind of like their banter was a little MCU-ish
really?
for me
I kind of
personally.
thought I thought
But
it was very toned down because like I actually kind of laughed at
well,
some.
it's also like you only really need to care about two of those characters, really, and even still, it's not about character here. It's kind of like when we were talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, coming soon. Um,
Let me just say,
it's not really about character; it's about other stuff. But it's there's like that mid section that I'm like, okay, that could be shorter and make this into like a clean 45, or it could have been, a feature and you could have had more of that depth for other characters too, rather than just a like weirdly placed conversation here. Um,
I
because
get
it's like
no, I do
tension's high, let's
yeah,
deflate them
I
for
do get
5 minutes.
yeah. No, I do get you coming from there because I did feel the same way because it was like it was such an adrenaline rush and you kind of
Yeah.
you're pausing for a second, which I know it's like good to have like this little conversation. Just it was after such like a
Either have more of those or trim it
yeah.
is kind
Um,
of where my brain went.
but
Um,
I mean, honestly, that was it really for me because I think,
I
uh,
do think it's noble and would encourage, if Kevin Feige wants to listen to the opinion of someone who's not a hardcore fanboy. Um, I would appreciate more hour-long TV specials than 2.5 hour movies or 6 hour long miniseries that he claims are 6 hour, and they are, and that's how they're structured, and it's not well paced, generally speaking.
yeah, there's a lot.
That's just me though. Is like I would prefer,
No,
a
no,
special every few months rather than 2.5 hours in the theater.
no, I do agree with you on that one. I think I like the fact that this was different, and again, like Multiverse of Madness, like it was something fresh and new, rather than
There was a style to it that was
there's
distinct.
that was a style.
Um,
And not just because it's in black and white, but they actually did rely a lot on like old school techniques. Like there's like silhouette shots that I think are really cool. The
the
violence,
practical effects,
practical makeup too, which was great. Which goes into effects. I don't know
and the
why.
music is good too. Like Giacchino pulled double weight of like director and composer on his own film, which
Uh,
he does good with that.
nice wide
Um,
long takes too. I was really happy about that. Like you see
yeah,
everything like in a wide, which I think was pretty cool. The violence was really cool just because I don't know because I've heard other people be like, I think it's because it's in black, or they think it's because it's in black and white, and I maybe attest to that a little bit. Like I was like, yeah, there's I think because it's in black and white, you can get away with a little bit more stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard was they were like, hey, stylistic choice as well as like way to motivate like censoring a bit more of the gore. Um,
But
which is
yeah,
okay. Like I like black and white gore just as much as I like colorful gore. But um it is a thing where I'm like, and they ended up doing like a little Wizard of Oz homage as well.
dude, I
Um,
was so happy with that part.
of course you were. Meanwhile, I was like, I've just been living and breathing Wizard of Oz recently with the show I'm directing. So I was just kind of like, oh, nice. Okay. We wrap it up now.
Yeah,
And luckily it was close to the end. But
yeah. I think I do think that with the MCU, I think I agree with you on the fact that I would like to see more stuff like this, a lot more kind of outside the box rather than the same kind of cookie cutter thing that they're trying to do.
I also appreciate here, while I thought about it at first as just someone who's like, I have to have that thought going in my brain because I'm like, Kevin Feige produced this, he must have a reason for it. But I do like having a refreshing kind of sense of like, I don't have to know where exactly in the grand timeline this is right now.
True.
um,
They did answer
it's
that.
just kind of a one-off thing that
Yeah,
I don't have to think about fully.
they
Um,
actually I just read recently that they did place it somewhere.
I don't want to know.
I'm not gonna tell you
Um,
where they placed it, but I do again. That's something I do agree with you with. That yeah, no, you don't have to necessarily
It
know.
was just something you could enjoy without being like, oh, how does this factor into
Well,
15
it's a
other
lot like it's like with not a lot like, but it's with what Logan did. Logan is kind of just
its
placed.
own thing,
Yeah, it's
but it's like a payoff to other stuff. Where
yeah,
this
like
is like a little one-off
mhm.
side thing, which is fun. Um,
I think also I think I do love the fact that I love the fact that, but I just like this. I just like the style it took. I really like the fact that it was like an old school kind of B movie. Then
yeah,
like you can kind of embrace some of the cheesiness elements to it. Uh, the practical effects, like you were saying, something I just I'm sorry, I'm going back there for a second, it's because I was like, oh yeah, there are a lot of great uses of it. One in particular where I was like, I'm glad you didn't resort to other means to make this
yeah,
happen.
a CGI thing
Yeah.
there.
Um,
To be very vague about it, yet very on the nose about it with that phrasing. Um,
of course,
that one's a thinker. Um,
that was a flunky for you.
well, like you'll re-listen to this and you'll be like, oh wow, he like so I don't want to point it out too much, but you know.
But yeah, I think no, honestly speaking, this one it's definitely gonna be up there with me for like some of my favorites of I guess if we're gonna say phase four
Yeah,
of like and stuff, just because I'm like, yeah, this is it's up there with some of the some great phase
ain't
four.
nothing beat my boy Raimi though so far.
No, that's fair.
So far. Black
I
Panther
think I
2, the trailers do look good,
oh but
but
yeah, that's true.
um
Pretty great.
trailers have looked good for numerous movies, and I've gone in and been like, oh yeah, I'm excited. Okay. So
I think I know.
we'll see.
I think I know what movie you're exactly talking about too. I think so.
Probably.
I think so. But
I
yeah,
mean, I've only there's a handful of things that I've watched the trailer for and I've been like, yeah, that
that's
in
true.
terms of the MCU.
That
Usually I watch, a trailer for an art house movie and I'm like, oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay. I'll wait till I watch it, and then you watch it and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this movie my personality for a few days. Um just to call Mari out.
listen, it's only been one movie so far that's been artsy that I've been very interested in, and it came out like this past week, and I'm mad I can't fucking see it, and it's fucking called Tar, and I'm so upset.
See, and the thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna watch it and you're gonna be like, it's pretty good. And I'm
That
gonna watch
trailer,
it and I'm gonna be like, that is
that
one of the best of the
trailer
year.
was
You are
so
crazy.
that trailer was so good, dude. It was so
Yeah.
good. Like,
I'm very excited for it. I'm very, very excited for it. I also still need to watch his two other movies, so I'm glad it's taken its time to get here where I'm at. Because I'm like trying to prioritize a little bit more of the horror and a little bit more of the female director voices in the month of October.
oh yeah, because
Like
you're still doing Varda, right?
I'm doing Varda, I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing Ackerman, who did Jean Dielman, the 3.5 hour movie
Yep.
about yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
So I've started her short films, and I'm really liking her stuff. So I watched one short film from Lynn Ramsey.
Ooh,
Um,
I do love her. I can't wait for her next movie.
yeah, I'm already seen one film from her.
I
Yeah.
have. It is so great. It's so
It's a
great.
great
It's
film.
so
It's a
great.
great film.
So great.
Maybe my favorite from her. I don't know, but
I'm kind of
if you
scared. I'm
still think
kind of
so.
scared to do. We need to talk about Kevin because if
As
even
you
though
should be, as you should be, because
because
I watched that movie because I was like, oh, it's the same director as You
you were
Were Never Really Here, and I really love her stuff, and I watched it. I'm traumatized.
just because I know the intensity of you were never really here, and I was like, oh, you need to talk about Kevin, which stars those two.
Yeah.
Great. What is it? Oh, it's about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. No.
It's hard. It's a hard watch. Anyhow,
But
her short was relatively easygoing. Um, I also watched a short from the director of Fish Tank and
oh,
American Honey,
Fish Tank was good.
Andrea Arnold.
Fish Tank was good. And Honey. I think I watched Honey. Did I watch Honey? I think I watched Honey too.
American Honey?
Yes, I watched a short film too in class.
No, that's
No,
not the short film. I watched
what was it?
Milk.
That one I watched.
Oh, that was like my least favorite of the shorts I've seen recently, but it was good. It was good. It
I can
was.
understand.
It,
Yeah, I get
it's a little. Um, I can appreciate not giving all the answers or going in an unconventional route for the purposes of being like, oh yeah, look at this. But it was a little kind of like, huh? But it was still well directed, and like the first 2/3 I really appreciated, and then the like last bit of it I really appreciated. But it was a little like you gotta like wrap this up in the next minute or two in a like somewhat satisfying way, and I don't see how you can kind of. And I don't think she's interested in satisfactory type things, which is good, but it's still like a little more alienating for someone like me.
I get that.
Um, of like this seems like something where you don't have to have like a clean ending for it, but you do have to have an ending that makes sense for it. And it did feel kind of like, oh yeah, what if it's this? That like an idea you throw at the wall when you're making a student film, you know? And just continuing with that rather than, now that I've done all the work on this, that maybe doesn't work as well. But it's fine. It was still good. It just it was it was different. And the other short films I watched were truly amazing. I also watched one from Julie Dash, who's I believe a black woman director, which is not the usual kind of thing for most people to be watching because there's so few of them, like Ava DuVernay. And it was like a short film that was set to a Nina Simone song and it's interpretive dance. And I was like, oh yes, I love this. Um, anyhow, big old dissertation on a whole bunch of things. So yeah, female directors and horror stuff.
Yeah, so Werewolf by Night though.
Yeah,
but no,
just trim that section out of the review.
uh,
Um,
but I would say with Werewolf by Night, I would really like to see more stuff like that. I would like to be
yeah, it's worth a watch so that maybe we get more things like that in the MCU. So
and
I and if you like something a little different than your usual MCU thing.
yeah, and I wouldn't mind going back to to that world and stuff. I would kind of like a whole section of the MCU to kind of be in black and white, like in that style. Like I will, if they were to continue this, I would very much like it just to still continue with the 30s/40s like kind of style, like the Universal movies, like the monster movies and stuff like that. I would
I need
not
to
mind.
go watch those because I
Yeah,
know so many people call them like the greatest films of all time.
I've only watched maybe like a couple, like maybe one.
I've watched a couple minutes of James Whale's Frankenstein like several years ago, and that was back when I was bored by Stanley Kubrick movies. So like
I
that was
watched
not the time for me to watch black and white
I watched
monster
I
movies.
watched the Frankenstein with uh Christopher Lee and Peter.
Cushing.
Yes, I was gonna
So
say.
that would be Hammer horror, which that would be more the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
That like Roger Corman and the like.
I watched that and that was really and I actually I enjoyed that one a lot. And I think
Yeah, I need to get into Hammer horror too.
I think
Like there's so many different things about horror that I still need to plunge into because I keep thinking, oh, I found my favorite horror thing, and then I plunge into something different. I'm like, no, this is my horror person. So I just need to dip my toe in all of the different things, like Italian horror, like Fulci and Bava.
I do want to watch the original. I think at one point, Nosferatu, just because Edgar is
I did finally watch that.
you did was it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's one of those movies that so many films I love have homaged it that it's kind of like Top Gun. From That's a bad comparison, I think, but it's kind of like that kind of thing of
I
I've
got the
seen
meme.
all the movies
Yeah, boy.
that homaged this before I finally watched this one. And while it is great and definitely the one that, okay, it deserves the most praise because it did it all first, it's also kind of like I like the other things more because those are the ones I've gotten used to.
Yeah.
Like Bram Stoker's Dracula is probably my favorite version of the Dracula story.
Like honestly, I would not mind if an MCU version, like MCU movie, did something like that. I haven't seen it personally. I've only seen like a little bit, like clips here and there, but just the campiness of it and just the gigantic set pieces and like just the costumes alone, I
Oh,
would,
for Bram Stoker's, you mean?
yeah, I would
Yeah.
not mind them doing something like that. Actually, I think they're actually playing.
You know what I would like is a Bram Stoker's Dracula style DC movie about uh, Ra's al Ghul.
Fuck, that would be so good. I
That
am.
would that would be
I keep saying I have because I haven't seen the movie. I've only seen like here
well
and here and there.
with the exception being like you got to have a little more of a compelling secondary lead than Keanu. Keanu's good in it. Like I think he was a little undersold for me, but his accent is really bad. So and so is Winona's actually. Both of their accents are bad, but they do a good job acting. I think in both movies, in both of their roles.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think honestly with Werewolf by Night, this was a good like kind of first step into doing more like horror stuff,
Yeah,
like just going down that route of like just kind of just experimenting. Because I feel like a lot of I feel like a lot of Phase Four. I think I don't know, no one's really mentioned it yet, but I feel like because going through all the phases, I was like, oh, Phase Four is a lot like Phase One where they're kind of experimenting, they're kind of trying stuff out, like what works, what doesn't work. Um,
and resetting a bit
yeah,
because
kind of like in seeing like
post Phase Three, they're like, oh yeah, now it's a new era of
yeah,
Marvel.
because like
Um,
because I feel like a lot of people forget that Phase One had Iron Man one, Iron Man two, it's okay. The Incredible Hulk, no one really likes too much. Like there's a small fan base. I'm one of those people that actually likes Incredible Hulk. Oh, I know you do. Listen, man, we watch Ang Lee's Hulk, okay? It's better than that. But and then Thor, I like the first Thor. Not a lot of people that I know of. There's a small again, it's like a small, it's like now people are starting to looking around. Then there's Captain America, the first Avenger, and then the
I
Avengers.
just feel like William Friedkin in that Nicholas Winding clip of like, is there a doctor?
I thought you do the Billy Bob Thornton. Like, who's asking? Me.
No, I was doing the. Is there a doctor? No, it's a serious question. Like, I think only
Yeah.
God Forgives is a masterpiece. Uh, Doctor in the room. Is there a doctor? I'm serious about this too. Like, seriously, is there an ambulance that we could call? Um, yeah, that's just me with most Marvel things now, though. There's like the
This,
5 things out of the 40 plus or whatever that I'm like, oh yeah, those are good.
yeah, no, I'm with you. There's
It's just there's too much also. So
maybe like a handful I like. I don't like every single one of them, and it's funny. I think the ones that I
you
tend
just like about half to 2/3, where I like maybe 1/8.
well, it was weird.
So
It's weird because the ones I tend to like are the ones that people don't like, and the ones that I don't like are the ones that people love.
yeah, a
But
little bit, yeah.
yes. Well, I
All
think
right, let's talk about the next one. Because like I just feel like this is me being very cynical. It's good. Give it a watch.